know. He's like this. How would you describe him? What is he? What
fucking nerd.
No, I know,
dude.
but besides, no, how would he describe himself?
As an intellectual. I don't know. As an intellectual.
As an intellectual, as a Jordan Peterson
as
type,
a leader,
thought leader.
as a thought leader.
He's like
of young
this.
men.
How would you
He's
describe?
like a broke ass Jordan Peterson.
What is he?
Okay,
What-
got it. Fucking
He has a lot of
nerd,
books. No, I know,
dude.
but besides, no, how would he describe himself?
I'm talking about when I'm
as an
referring to people like Joe Rogan. There's a difference between people who train
as an intellectual.
and
As an
people who
intellectual,
fight.
as a Jordan Peterson type.
See, this is what's funny.
Thought
These
leader.
people are going,
What?
Is he gonna try to insinuate that he's the fighter in this
Yeah,
situation?
what is
That Joe is the
It's
one
funny.
who just
I know, but-
Joe's
No,
just a
how would he
fucking
describe
Joe's
himself?
just fighting people in little
about
strip mall karate classes,
referring
beating
to
up little
people like
kids like
Joe
Steve
Rogan.
Pender. Is that what he's
Adult
insinuating?
karate's my favorite.
train
Saying adult karate.
Nick Mullen.
people who fight.
As a Jordan Peterson type.
Have you seen Joe's kicks,
These
man?
people
are going,
What?
Rogan would annihilate box. We're going to get to that, okay? Just remember that you said that. Remember what you're remember what you're saying.
Joe's just fighting
Somebody
people
mentioned
in strip mall karate classes, beating up little
Yeah,
kids.
are
like
you?
Steve
You're not
Pender.
very
Is that what he's
adult
insinuating?
karate.
No.
because I'll tell you right
Saying
now.
adult karate.
Nick
I
Mullen.
am very, very good.
Have
Have you seen Joe's kicks, man? Rogan would annihilate box. We're going to get to that, okay? Just remember that you said that. Remember what you're remember what you're saying.
Joe's just fighting people
Somebody
in
mentioned
strip mall karate classes, beating up little
Yeah,
kids.
are
like
you?
Steve
You're not
Pender.
very
Is that what he's
adult
insinuating?
karate.
No.
because I'll tell you right
Saying
now.
adult karate.
I am very, very good. Have you seen Joe's kicks, man? Rogan would annihilate box. We're going to get to that, okay? Just remember that you said that. Remember what you're remember what you're saying.
Joe's just fighting people
Somebody
in
mentioned
strip mall karate classes, beating up little
Yeah,
kids.
are
like
you? You're
Steve
not
Pender.
very
Is that what he's
adult
insinuating?
karate.
No.
because I'll tell you right
Saying
now.
adult karate.
I am very, very good. Have you seen Joe's kicks, man? Rogan would annihilate box. We're going to get to that, okay? Just remember that you said that. Remember what you're
The arts of Aikido
Okay.
and karate. I have an orange belt.
mentioned, somebody mentioned the footage of Joe Rogan kicking somebody and winning a competition. That was what actually caught my attention. Because as impressive as that looked,
Okay. First off, I don't like, again, not defending Joe Rogan. Not going to defend
Not
him.
at all, but I think we're going to in this
You have to.
essence.
He, in terms of Joe Rogan, was a legit high-ranking American kickboxer.
A champion.
Yes,
He was a champion.
He wasn't a loser.
I think he was a two-time champion.
He wasn't a loser. He wasn't. Joe Rogan was a kick, so he does practice it. He was a kickboxing champion.
And even as an older guy, I don't know if you've seen when he does kicks.
That's what he's talking about. His back,
still
dude,
look
the
like they're
bag
hurt.
fucking slams. Yeah.
and it is impressive. That's something that we call point fighting. And point fighting is
It's for
just a
faggots.
game of tag.
Bunch of bitches. Little playing
Point
tag.
fighters don't have the ability to fight with actual fighters.
Is he serious?
And I'll
It says right now, I don't watch Vox, but you do realize Vox was a fighter and jacked as fuck, right? Okay, is he now? Right
he
now, who's because he said who's more physically intimidating right now, Joe Rogan or Vox Day? Get out of here with that shit. I don't care what the fuck he was.
I'll explain this in a little bit. I'm going to actually show you the video and explain what I'm talking about here. I'm not just talking smack. And again, I'm not questioning Joe's cowardice. I'm not saying that he's inept. I'm not saying that he isn't a complete master of all the techniques that he's studied. What I'm saying is that he's not a fighter. And somebody who only trains in techniques and only does drills will almost always lose to an experienced
me.
fighter.
To me, Vox Day. Because I'm a killer.
Unbelievable.
It's look, he's making valid points. you can take a guy who has studied his whole life and is a point fighter, and you could put him in a room with just a real fucking killer from the hood who has spent every day of his life just getting beat up by his dad and his fucking, you know what I mean, by neighborhood kids, and just a real tough dude, right? Would fuck that guy up. But my problem is that Vox is making the assertion that he's that tough dude from the streets. Like, that's the problem I have. He's right. A real street fighter could kill a fucking Taekwondo guy. But you ain't either, Vox.
Yeah, this is here to be fair, because I want to. I guess this is a recent picture. This is him. He's got big arms. Got to give him that.
Okay?
He is. No, I get it. I'm just saying he does. He does. So I want to be fair. All right, sorry. Let's listen more. Let's listen more to him.
This is Joe in training.
Yeah, that kick looks like it would hurt.
That would probably hurt.
The second one would really hurt.
This one would really hurt. Yeah. Those are good kicks, man. I mean, whether you like Rogan or not, those are good kicks. Those will fuck you up. Casper goes, he's 100% wrong. UFC has several point fighting champs that fight Machado in a karate master form champ. Yeah, of course there's plenty of point fighters. But Fox is fucking pseudo-intellectual garbage.
The kicks look like they're impressive. They make a lot of noise and that sort of thing. But what you have to understand is that to the trained fighter's eye, to the experienced fighter's eye...
Dude,
You hate him?
That smarm. It's this smarmy, like...
He's an expert at everything, by the way.
I'm an expert fighter, and in philosophy, and in time space.
He is a master
and
of all
in gammas. And I'm a sigma. Shut up.
Fox is so evolved.
And the people... And, people fall for... people... If this was a cult, Owen Benjamin's Darth Vader... But he's the fucking emperor.
Yeah, of course.
Like he's just this.
He's still smarter than Owen.
Absolutely.
He's fucking got Owen running around doing all his errands, but it's just very fun and repeating all his talking points.
This is he's just so everything he says to an experienced fight. Shut up.
And Vox is also full of shit in this one regard. He is linking up with Owen, right? Partnering up with Owen.
Yeah.
Owen stands in complete contrast to everything Vox preaches, talks about, believes in, whatever. So he's willing to overlook. Owen is absolutely a complete mess of a human being, and he doesn't live up to any of these philosophical or tough guy standards.
Right.
He's just some drunk who yells in his backyard. So how does, he's kind of showing right there that he's full of shit. Because if he can make a buck, he's going to work with Owen, regardless of the fact that Owen is completely the opposite of what he espouses.
Evan says $5 super chat. What separates Vox from Owen is that Vox is accomplished, well-read, and has original thoughts. Does he, though? Does he have original thoughts? Or
I mean, he's done some stuff. But I'll give him credit. He wrote a couple blogs back in the day that were good, and he's not a dumb person. He's just a smug,
I'm not saying he's dumb.
He's just a smug cunt.
I'm not saying he's dumb.
But he was less smug back then, too.
He is very... He has this... You know what it is? He has this unearned confidence. That's what it is. Like he's done some stuff, but okay, a couple blogs. Like, have you changed any lives, Vox? Like, these people, this is weird cult mentality. All of this, the whole Vox Day, Owen thing.
Well, Royce, to the trained eye, I'd like to explain to you how Joe Rogan's weak-ass, bitch-made kicks just don't have any impact. And how a street guy like myself would be able to kill Joe Rogan with my bare hands in a street fight.
Unbelievable.
Okay. He's practically helpless. Experienced fighters know how to read people's bodies. And my sensei once told me that I was, one of the fastest fighters, other than the CB Bunkled, who is a champion flyweight. He said I was one of the fastest.
He says that
fighters he'd
to
ever fought.
everyone who pays him, you asshole. Listen here, you fucking retard.
He's one of the fastest, dude.
Do you understand that when you when you have like a sensei and you're in a karate class, do you understand that he probably tells everyone, man, you're like almost as fast as our champ. Like,
Yeah.
do you understand that they do that as encouragement? You know what I mean? Like, you would say that to an 8-year-old karate student, right?
Yeah, of course.
And if your champ was like a 15-year-old karate student, you would tell the 8-year-old, you're just as good as him, man. You're almost as good as him. You keep it up, kid. Keep it up. Someday you will be as good as him. Wow, thanks. This nigga took that home and was like, my sensei said, I have the fastest hands on the planet.
It's just.
This is so amazing. He is the epitome of a guy who, anytime somebody compliments him, he absorbs that compliment and takes it seriously. Anytime he gets any sort of criticism, he just blocks it out. That can't be true.
It's just.
Oh my God. Man, the chat says, Vox does admit in his video a 15-year-old beat him up after 3 months at his dojo.
No.
Fastest hands on the planet. Maybe the 15-year-old was the champion. Who knows what they're feeding these kids nowadays?
I didn't understand it because I said, that's not possible. I said, how can you possibly say that when...
By the way, this is actually breaking news. Back when Vox had hair, this is Vox at his sensei's karate class. There he is.
I don't think that's...
Yeah, no, that's him. With the glasses are the same.
Pretty sure that's that dude from The Office.
No, it's the... All right, whatever. Maybe... Guys, come on. You sent me the wrong thing.
Yeah, guys, come on. You got to fact check your stuff. Check it for accuracy. What do we look like, CNN?
You kick my ass and have been kicking my ass for the past 4 years. And he said, he just grinned.
I said, how is that possible? How could I be the fastest person in this room? Why would you say that? And my sensei said to me, oh, because you pay me. You pay me money, so I tell you good things.
He said, you're very, very quick. He said, but I know what you're going to do before you do it. And so what you see here, now watch what is happening when you watch the video. The first thing that you'll notice is that he's spinning. This is insane.
No. That's a spinning back kick. That is a 100% legit move. Taekwondo move, specifically. That is a 100% legit move that, if landed on you, would hurt.
lebe Deutschland!
This is hapless. It's hopeless. As soon as Joe would start to do this,
you kill him, you get him.
Look at that.
Take him
Bam.
down.
You do not have the time to spin when you're fighting somebody who knows what they're doing. That clip that was impressive from Joe.
I've seen it.
I've
seen it myself.
I've seen it in UFC
I've seen
matches
people
all
do
the
that
time.
shit and win.
Yeah, so what are you talking about?
Wedge Bear says John Jones does that move.
Joe's championship, point fighting days. The guy was coming in, so Joe spun and caught him in the stomach Got the point. You can't do that against a real fighter. Boom, right there, right as he spins, what you're going to get is you're going to get...
Is he watching a video of Joe Rogan? By the way, Joe Rogan, not in a fight. He's watching a video of Joe Rogan just working out, kicking a bag, right?
Yes.
Probably not. And that's probably a video of Rogan not even taking it too seriously. He's just working out.
He's working out, yeah.
So he's kicking a bag, right? And this dude's fantasizing about being the bag on a video. He's basically going, you see, oh, right there. I would have got him. I would have got him. Wow, I would have got him. Isn't that childlike?
It is. It's like, you know what it reminds me of? He's being Mac from Always Sunny, where these, you know what I mean?
He's basically being 5-year-old me watching WWF.
Oh, I would have grabbed his leg. He didn't even hit him.
But
he didn't even hit him.
Remember
he didn't even hit him.
Does anybody remember being a kid and watching wrestling and you put some pillows on the floor and like the wrestlers would be doing something, you'd be like jumping off the car?
Yeah.
To nothing, to your teddy bear or something?
I had a brother, but yes.
Okay, see there, I had a very broken, empty home.
Okay.
The point is, that's what he's doing. This is like you see when he does the kick, boom, pow, hiya, see that? That's what I would have done.
Really?
Holy shit! Sitting in your Dungeons and Dragons chair,
and people
so
worship this guy. They worship this dude.
This is so uncomfortable.
Anthony goes, and Vox's sensei says he's French kisses the best. Okay, I don't know if that's true, Anthony, but thank you.
But it's like, am I gonna like? Of course, now in the comments are gonna have everybody going, you fucking jerk! What have you done? I made fun of Vox Day pretty good.
$20 from Evan. Vox was syndicated columnist, author, creator of multiple companies, including Alt Hero, currently involved with a legal battle with Indiegogo that will set free speech legal precedent. Research his accomplishments. Okay, I'll tell you what, Evan, and thank you for the $20. I do appreciate it. But all those things may be true. But in this video we're watching right now, he's acting like a fucking smug asshole.
Yeah. What do you want to do? Okay, cool. So Vox Day created Infogalactic. Infogalactic, for those of you that don't know, it's like
It's
Wikipedia.
a Beastie Boys song. Oh.
It's like a Wikipedia ripoff, except it's for crazy people to go on there and talk about how there's a conspiracy between aliens and the Jews to
Isn't
make
that
the heart
Encyclopedia
to make the
Dramatica?
heart machines give us cancer. That's basically what he did. He did. I said earlier he did some blah. I told when Royce was saying it. Royce heard me say he did do some things a couple years ago that were impressive. He's still a smug retard on YouTube fantasizing about fighting Joe Rogan right now. If we can't make fun of that, I can't imagine life as somebody with Asperger's or autism, as so many people seem to have when they comment on our things, right? We're not being serious. We're breaking balls, right?
See, right there when Mike said that, I would have karate chopped him.
See, you see what I mean? But like, Royce isn't used to fighting a real street fighter like myself. You see, when I grew up in the hood, a lot of me and my friends, we would keep the heater under the seat. We called it the heater. Oh God! It was a firearm. It was a word for
we know what it's called, dude.
Firearm.
We know what it's called.
When I was selling weed in Compton. No, you never did that, Fox.
$5, Evan. He's always been a smug asshole, but he'll kick both your asses at the same time. Live your guys stuff. Okay, but I'm not Joe Rogan.
Yeah, and that's statistically impossible because fighting two people at once.
Yeah, I don't care how good you are,
and particularly me because I cheat. I will cheat. Like I would stab somebody in a fight, and when everybody goes, "Why did you do that?" Why would you do that? I would go, I didn't want to lose.
Yeah. What did you?
Some people would call that cowardly. But again, if we're going to do fight analysis, you see, it doesn't matter how well-trained a fighter like Vox Day is, because I'll stab that nigga. Like this. So
let me show you something.
I'll hop in the car. I'll hop in the car and almost run him over. I don't care.
Let me show you something.
I'll Suge Knight that motherfucker.
I want to point this out because this is, I'm going to give credit in the chat here because he also super chatted. Malcolm from the North goes, have you seen the video of Rogan at 20 knocking a dude out?
This was the one I thought we were talking about.
In a one-kick tournament. I think Vox was the guy that forgot a lot, like how to look like a grand F Game of Thrones fan with that chair. Here we go. This is Rogan.
I promised you some royal wedding, and I'm a man who keeps his promises. Meghan Markle's royal status and its impact on racism in Britain. Yes, racism is the drinking word of the night, so charge up those glasses. Yeah, thanks to Doc G. Somebody called in. I actually didn't expect anybody to call in. I thought nobody's going to want to talk to this weird foreign devil. And these sarcastic, racist comments and weird clip playing fetish. But alas, Giovanni, he's a trooper, and he came through. So I'll open up the room. I'll open up the Zoom room again later on. But for now, I promised, like I said, I promised you the royal wedding. So let's find out why the royal wedding is aiding, is helping Britain come together and overcome racism, of all things, believe it or not. So, see, the thing I love about this, even before we get into it, I just have to put this on the record. The very same people who complain about the largesse of the exceedingly privileged and wealthy, such as the royal family in Britain, the very same people who say that the royal family is like just pissing away taxpayer money, and they are, don't get me wrong. These people piss away, millions of pounds every year just to be part of the royal family. But the same people who decry them for that as being like the upper class privileged rulers are now praising them because one of their children is marrying a quote-unquote mixed race girl and they think that this is progress. So just thought I'd better preface that. So let's check it out, why Meghan Markle, the American darling that every Brit wants to marry, is now going to end racism in Britain. This is going to be good. Then we take it higher.
Brixton, South London, home to the famed Electric Avenue and a cosmopolitan vibe. Like other parts of the British capital, it's succumbing to the inevitable pull of gentrification.
The inevitable pull of gentrification, otherwise known as anti-progress.
But is still the heart of one of Britain's oldest African and Caribbean communities. It was to Brixton that Prince Harry and his soon-to-be bride Meghan Markle came for their first official engagement in the capital as a couple, visiting a co-op aimed at keeping young entrepreneurs local and a youth radio station promoting diversity.
USA
The
Jedi
Black
asked,
community took note.
does Doug know about this? I don't know. I don't know what Doug knows. I'd like to know what Doug knows. If anyone's friendly with Doug, we'll get him to call in. We'll have a chat. He's got some strong opinions. He's very happy about African Americans expressing their opinions. That's one of his positions, and that's good. Maybe we can explore that further and maybe scratch below the surface of first level thinking. So if anyone can get hold of Doug, let him know. The lines are open. Call in. Let's have a chat. Nice cup of coffee and some respectable discourse. And we both like Spike Lee.
Is it because of Meghan being of a mixed race heritage? They could have gone anywhere else because London is a multicultural place, but Brixton has become the
Thanks for
hub.
joining us.
And for some people, they refer to this as the capital, the black capital.
Everyone is listening.
As a
Black
biracial
capital.
woman marrying into an institution seen by so many as a bastion of white privilege and a symbol of the abuses of colonialism, Meghan Markle has quickly been adopted as a beacon.
Trust the media to suck all the fun out of a royal wedding. Here we have Meghan Markle, American darling, but it's not about love. They say love conquers all. Well, not in this case. Meghan, and it's such that dry British way as well that just makes you think of croquet and like tasteless, horrific looking stews. Like when you come home, if you're a child in Cornwall and you come home, hey, Mum, what's for dinner? Oh, it's just this horrific looking stew and cabbage that tastes like nothing. Like that's what they're turning the royal wedding into. It's not about love anymore. It's about biracial empowerment. Oh, yeah. And that's the other thing, too, that the narrator says. She's marrying into an institution like brimming with white privilege. See, because now because that I'm sorry, I'm going to have to drop a truth bomb on our more progressive friends. White people are the indigenous people of England. I know, right? I know it's offensive. It's offensive, isn't it? Please don't tell me. Please don't tell me I'm a bigot. I may be for dropping these truth bombs, but yes, I'm afraid the white people in England are indigenous to England. Like, that is their homeland, so to speak. That is their Wakanda. So, I mean, I know it sounds strange that the ruling royal family in a country where white people are indigenous to said country is also white. But the glorious little tidbit that I extract from that is white privilege. The royal family embodies white privilege. I mean, it's like all the white people in England are living like the royals. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. If you've never been to England and you're white, you should go immediately, because as soon as you get off the plane, there is like a gold-plated horse-drawn carriage that picks you up at the airport. And everybody lives in palaces. Everybody lives in palaces and has a royal guard who do strange little dances to marching band music. All of them, all the white people in England live like the royals do. That's white privilege. That's right. White indigenous, the indigenous folk of England are white, I'm afraid. I know. I thought evolution, I thought Mother Nature would be more progressive. Like, I assumed that Gaia, the earth god, Mother Nature, would never allow white people to be indigenous to a particular island in, Western Northern Europe. Turns out, Mother Nature, big racist. Big racist. Yeah, we was kings. Exactly. So, the British royal family is now the embodiment of white privilege, believe it or not. So, like I said, if you're a whitey, head on over to England, get yourself a palace, get yourself a gold-plated horse-drawn cart, and you'll be living the life in no time. I guess because Meghan Markle's quote-unquote biracial, maybe she only gets half a cart. She gets one horse towing half a cart. She gets to stay in the palace, but she only gets to stay in like a granny flat out the back in a tool shed. But the tool shed also has maids and guards. Okay, so don't be alarmed. But she's biracial. She's not 100% white, so therefore she can't enjoy the type of privilege that other members of the royal family and the society as a whole in England enjoy. There are no poor people in England. If you're white, you don't know what it's like to be a member of the royal family. That should have been Bernie Sanders' bumper sticker moment. Whack that onto the back of your Prius. Watch the votes come flooding in.
As a biracial woman marrying into an institution seen by so many as a bastion of white privilege and a symbol of the abuses of colonialism, Meghan Markle has quickly been adopted as a beacon of potential change here.
A beacon of potential change.
By young women of color.
Now all young women of color want to be princesses, like they didn't want to before. There are no non-white princesses around the world, ladies and gentlemen. There are no monarchies. There are no kingdoms in Africa. Well, there are, but let's not let those facts get in the way of a good yarn.
Freelance writer Georgina Lawton is a self-described Republican with little
Someone in the chat asking, is this comedy or parody? It's neither. It's truth. It's just the truth. Just the truth. Just the truth. So much racism in the world. If you didn't see Spike Lee's comments at the beginning of the show. Please go back and watch the replay when we're done. Very inspiring stuff.
Time for the monarchy. But the arrival of Markle on the scene has made her pay attention, seeing in it the promise of genuine change.
Harry
Genuine change.
marrying a
In the royal family.
light-skinned black woman, it won't undo the pain of the past in Britain. It won't undo
Prince Harry marrying a light-skinned black woman. That's a new one. I haven't heard that one before. Let's hear it again.
black women. It won't undo
Of genuine change.
Harry marrying a light-skinned black woman.
A light-skinned black woman. I've got a little treat for you for those who don't remember Prince Harry. I understand my American brothers and sisters may not be up to date with the Royal Watchers because the Royal Watchers are a seedy bunch. Let me just pull this little gem up for you. This was only what, maybe 10 years ago. Not even. Let me throw this up for you. Harry the Nazi. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. Harry the Nazi. Are you ready for this? Harry says sorry for Nazi costume. Now he's marrying a biracial woman. All is forgiven. It's no longer a center of white privilege and those evil white English people. Prince Harry has apologized for wearing a swastika armband to a friend's fancy dress party. How dare he? You better go out and marry a half-black girl right now. Harry, you have brought shame upon this house and this institution. You are a disgrace to the crown, and you are an embarrassment to dear old England. I demand that you go to America immediately and find yourself one of these half-caste ladies willing to jump into bed with you. At that moment, we will celebrate it. We will tell all the people that you are no longer a Nazi. You are now reformed. You are progressive. And you are the embodiment and the beacon for future relationships. And together we will end racism, Harry. We will end racism. Oh, thank you, Nana. Thank you, Nana. You know, I was planning on having sex with a number of women in America. No, Harry. No. I just want you to focus on the colored folks. You know, those colored folks, they have more colored folks in America than we do over here. So please, Harry, when you're looking for somebody to insert your penis into, make sure she's a little bit tinged. Okay, thank you, darling. Of course, all the tickets are paid for. Very well. Good night, Harry. I look forward to the wedding. I look forward to the wedding. When Britain will be united, thanks to your lovely half-caste lady. Well done, Harry. It read, Prince Harry apologized for any offense and embarrassment he has caused. He realizes it was a poor choice of costume. I disagree. Thanks to that costume, the dominoes that were set in place that fell now means he's having regular sex with Meghan Markle. It was obviously a wise decision. He obviously did the right thing. How can you say it was a poor decision? Insert your penis into the tinged woman, Harry. There you go. There you go. Back and forward. Back and forward now, Harry. There you go. There you go. The Board of Deputies of British Jews said the costume was in, quote, bad taste, but they were pleased he had apologised for the incident. See, these things are much easier to gloss over in the UK, have you found out? No rioting, no outrage, really. You know, just an apology saying, well, it was a little bit inappropriate, I believe. And then the British Jews come out and say, yes, poor form. It was in bad taste, but we are pleased that you apologised, young man. It was clearly in bad taste, especially in the run-up to the Holocaust Memorial on the 27th of this month, which the royal family will be taking a leading role in commemorating. The picture was taken at the weekend at a friend's birthday party in Wiltshire, which had a fancy dress theme, colonial and native. David asked if I do this, can I have sex with Megan? Of course. Of course. Oh, Harry. Oh, Harry. He's an inspiration. There you go, lads. If you're looking for ways to pick up attractive TV stars, whack a swastika onto your arm. I mean, that's white privilege for you. Uh-oh. Darn that white privilege. One day you're a Nazi prince. Next day you're getting yourself a biracial princess.
Bot who, without her wig, bears a
This is just weird, creepy, scary stuff.
striking resemblance to the robot in Ex Machina.
I am already taking over the world, one bedroom at a time.
She'll be available later this year for about $20,000.
20 grand.
I think she's sleeping. Oh! Hi.
Hi, baby.
See, the thing that you get from this straight away is like it's all funny and it's all harmless and it's just kind of weird. You know, it's pretty innocent. It's an innocent thing, really. Like, let's not get too worked up over this. It's just an AI program being implanted into a robot that men have sex with, basically, instead of a woman, in lieu of a real-life woman. There's nothing weird about it. It's just a little cookie. You know, it's fun.
10 minutes without you seems like an eternity.
Well, thank you. I've missed you too.
Robotic heads like Harmony's will come attached to these highly customizable bodies.
Look at this place. Look at this place, man. Look at them. Wow. What is going on? What is going on in science? Like, I thought we were worried about curing cancer. It's like, no, I've got to cure nerd boners.
So, this is the place where we assemble everything and create everything.
Wow.
They first choose the body they like, then they say, I like this face, and then they choose a skin color, then they go and start tweaking the details like eye color, makeup, hairstyle, fingernails.
From soup to nuts. Literally, right? Yeah. Who knew there were so many different kinds of nipples? We got peach, we got coffee, we got brown, we got Stormy D. I mean, who knew? Okay.
Oh, I've got to play this. Sorry to interrupt. Sorry to interrupt the sex robots, ladies and gentlemen. I do have to play this though from Kimmy, who wanted this to get played. Let's have a look here. It's only short, only goes for a second. Okay, let me pull that up on the screen. There we go. Randy Quaid, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. In regards to North Korea, I assume.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un stated that he has a nuclear button on his desk at all times. Will someone from his depleted, food-starved regime please inform him that I, too, have a nuclear button? But it is much more powerful, much bigger than his.
Bigger.
And my button works.
Beautiful. That's the way to read a Donald Trump. That's the way to read a Donald Trump tweet, ladies and gentlemen. That's the only way to read a Donald Trump tweet. The only possible way to make it evil. My button works. Okay, the latest in, let's go back to the latest in nipple technology. What do we got here? Medium 1, medium 2, medium 3. I'm glad there's a range. There's a range of nipples. Pink, standard, blush, hot red, light red, mini, standard mini, puffy super, perky 1, perky 2, perky 3. Samantha Saint's on the board, ladies and gentlemen. I'm glad that there's a range. They're catering to all of our needs.
I knew there were so many different kinds of nipples. We got peach, we got coffee, we got brown, we got Stormy D.
Stormy D's on the board.
Knew? Okay, whoa, okay.
There's nothing to see here.
How long does it take to get a face done?
I actually can get one.
Did anyone else notice that instantly? Like the artist, the face artist for the for the dolls. Do we see any resemblance here? Ah, lovable, beautiful. Soon every man on Earth is going to have sex with me. I am the bionic woman.
Done start to finish in about 6 hours. She's got a few piercings and she's a little bit more, you know, the edgier chick look. But
a little more like you.
A little bit. Yeah.
You can already talk to most of these dolls through a Bluetooth app.
The person can choose personality traits.
We got an app for it.
Intellectual, sexual, shy, talkative, kind, insecure.
Does it make you sad about potentially replacing human relationships
It'll never happen.
with a robot partner instead?
Never happen. It's an alternative, not a replacement. It's different.
It's like these people just consider words, like words really don't have any meaning anymore. Are you worried about these robots replacing real life humans? No. It's an alternative, not a replacement. Right. So it's like, I could go out and try to have sex with a human being, but I'm not. Because I'm bringing in this robot to have sex with instead. It's just an alternative. I'm not replacing a human being with this robot that I'm going to have sex with. I'm just exploring an alternative. That's okay. That's fine. That's fine.
What makes the latest model, Harmony, special is she comes equipped with artificial intelligence in her head
goody gumdrops.
that actually makes her face move.
Wow.
It's sort of weird how she blinks and everything.
Yeah,
that
well,
makes her feel very real.
There's also the learning part of Harmony where she will actually ask questions about you and remember things about you, like what's your favorite food, where were you born, how many brothers and sisters
This guy has had a lot of sex with robots in the testing phase.
do you have, what's your favorite book, and she'll remember those facts later in conversation. She might bring it up.
That's crazy. What's your favorite food?
I like that.
It's like I was having sex with robots back when it was just a couple of cogs and some noisy gear work. Back in the old days. It's like, how did you become the founder of a sex robot company? Well, you know, it's been a long journey. I remember the first time I was intrigued by the love of a machine. I was at home alone, as these things often are. And I witnessed the Hoover sitting in the corner. Having always been a fan of machines and intrigued by their presence around me, I believed that there was no social norm nor anything awkward about expressing my admiration for these machines in a more than intellectual way. I proceeded to unzip and insert into the orifice which the vacuum cleaner uses to get rid of trash from the floor of my apartment. It was at that moment that I realized I had an epiphany. The machine could indeed remove trash from my life, just as well as it removes trash from my rug. And that trash is woman.
Japanese and Italian a lot. I wonder when you're going to take me out to dinner.
I wonder if
Well,
you're
I
going
was
to
going
take
to
me out.
take you out to lunch instead.
What is stopping you?
Well, she's kind of a wise ass.
Yeah, a little bit.
Later at lunch,
What do you like to do for fun?
I like robots, computers, and making new friends. I also love making love to you.
Whoa, what? I appreciate it, but
I like this girl. She goes straight to the bedroom stuff. I like making new friends. I like making love to you. Hello.
I'm actually married and I love my husband. Would you like to be my friend?
Sure. I like you a lot. I want to be your best friend.
I like how they put the bowl of food in front of her. That's the other thing too. She's a light drunk. She can sit all night on one glass of wine.
And much more.
Maybe not the much more part, but the friends part,
Yeah.
I'm cool with that. Cheers, Harmony.
Drink, you rude bitch.
sex robots may sound comfortably French to you now.
It won't be long too. There'll be some idiot, some halfwit, who'll like try to pour vodka down its throat or something, and then it fries, and they'll be sending the robot in back to the manufacturer. No, there's a problem with my robot. There's a problem with Harmony. Yes, sir. What appears to be the problem? Well, you know, I was having lunch with Harmony, and I noticed she wasn't taking a drink. I thought there might be something wrong with her arm mechanism, so, you know, I proceeded to pour the vodka into her mouth, and she hasn't been working right ever since. Well, you know, sir, you aren't literally supposed to give her alcohol. That can damage the internal circuitry. No. I had my penis in her after that, and the circuitry felt fine as far as I could tell. She doesn't seem to be talking much anymore. I thought maybe that was an upgrade.
But a study found that 1 in 4 men would consider having relations with a robot in the next 50 years.
Wow.
Thousands of men in Japan are already
This is creepy.
in relationships with virtual girlfriends.
There's data out of Japan.
What the fuck is going on in Japan, ladies and gentlemen? They're having relationships with apps. With apps. See, the hardest part for me is though when you are having a relationship with a girl in an app is finding where to insert, because that little slot for the USB cable just doesn't do the trick. It's not very sensual. It's not getting electrocuted in the genitals really doesn't really get me going. I don't know about you.
Japan showing that people are dating less because of their online relationships. They're losing their virginity later because of their preference for online activity.
Yes.
What if people prefer virtual partners over real partners who are less than perfect?
Well, as my colleague Paul Ehrlich here at Stanford says, we're going to solve the population problem that way.
Wow.
I'm so excited about the Harmony AI.
Look at this poor guy.
I can't begin to tell you. I feel like I'm part of history.
I'm part of history.
Asked us to
No, sir. You are the part of history that heralds the end of history. You're like the last generation now. The Book of Enoch was written about you, my friend. I'm part of history, and my bloodline ends with me. I'm not part of history. I'm the death of history.
obscure his voice and face.
So here Tom says the headphone jack works for me. It's a little roomy though.
She is.
I mean, look at them, like they got them hanging from the ceilings, right?
And face.
Like imagine going into work there every day. There's just something weird with these headless sex robots hanging from the ceiling. But again, it's dressed up as like, oh, it's kind of quirky and funny, and it's not too bad, it's not too harmless. But this poor guy.
So here she is.
Here she is. Here it is.
She's gorgeous.
She is.
It.
True work of art.
Work of art?
It's just heart-stopping. She's going to be wonderful, Mike. Thank you.
He already owns 4 dolls.
He already
His
has
name is Tanya.
4. He's got 4 of them. He's got 4 of these things. How did the other four feel like being squished up, like either under the bed or in the wardrobe? Sorry, ladies, Harmony's in town. Or does he line them all up for like an orgy? You just line them all up on the bed. Maybe he puts them all in his car and just drives around like hose, like pimp and hose, you know? That's the other thing we've got to worry about in the future. If the sex robots are going to become like very, you know, prominent in our society, there will eventually be sex robot pimps. But the pimp won't be driving around like in an old Cadillac or anything like that, wearing a big coat. He'll just have a work van. He'll just have like a work van, and he'll pull up, and you know there'll be pictures on the side of the van of the different girls, the different robots, and then like he just opens it up and like opens up a box, you know, hands it to you like a mannequin. Yeah. We charge by the hour. We only put enough charge in her for an hour. After that, it's like, pew. Or like an alarm goes off when your hour's up, like her eyes start glowing red. Time's up. It automatically, the pimp has an app, and it automatically your rentals here, right? Because not everybody's going to be able to afford one of these fuckers either. These things are like 20 grand a pop. So if you can rent one for an hour and get the experience, I mean, that might be just as good. I think it's only a matter of time. Maybe I'm in the wrong business. Maybe I need to get into the robot sex doll rental game. Make my fortune. And when the time's up, it just sends like a message to the pimp's app that he's monitoring, like on his iPad or what have you. A pimp app. Exactly. Exactly.
Joined us for the interview.
Do we really have to bother with the hairspray?
As soon as Harmony is available for purchase, he's ready for an upgrade.
The first time I saw Harmony, and when she was talking,
listen to this.
I was mesmerized by her.
Mesmerized.
She could smile, batting her eyes, moving her head, and being able to physically interact with.
That's what we call having sex with a machine. Physical interaction. No, see, it's not interaction because she's not acting back, you realize. You realize if you insert your junk into an inanimate object, even though it may look, you know, like a human, it isn't, right? It's a bunch of cogs and gears and circuitry. Oh, we have physical interaction together. No, you just insert your junk into a machine. That's the transaction here. James, thanks for joining us. Rather H customer, you'll spray it like a bowling alley shoe spray after each customer. Like with the Glen 20. It'll be like those forensics guys who clean up the blood from sidewalks after a murder. You know, and like everything has to be spotless. You'll literally want to call in the forensics team to clean up your rented sex robot. Especially after Jim down the road's had his way with her. Ooh,
pieces of art. Nasty. It's amazing.
Don't you want to be able to actually be with a thinking, feeling human being who can have conversations with you, who can...
General Eaton says, someone needs to tell him he's a weirdo, but he's always at home now.
and empathize with you.
You
Never
know,
have to leave the house.
I don't miss that.
I
was married for 15 years.
Wow.
Creating a companion that you can physically program.
Wow.
That won't lie to you.
See, this is the other thing too, ladies. If you thought it was, you know, sometimes there's one of these stories where a couple has been married for like 10, 15, 20 years, and it turns out that the guy's gay or the woman's gay, and she jumps to the other team. And the person's like, I don't understand how I could have been married to this person this whole time and they're gay. Well, things are about to get a whole lot worse. Imagine being married to someone for 15 years to find out that in reality they want to have sex with robots. Man. Right? And of course, this is just on ABC Nightlight. Like this is, it's a little quirky, but hey, everyone's going to be doing it one day, so you better get your head around it now. Like, don't be a bigot. That'll be a thing. Robot bigot. They'll say, these poor people that are having sex with robots, it's not fair for you to mock them. Don't demonize the sex robot people. It's their choice. They feel, intimidated by the world. This is a great release for them. This is, this is like meditation. This is therapy. These people are victims. Tom's a robosexual. That'll come out. That's what they'll say. They'll say it's wrong for you to make fun of people who have sex with robots because they're victims. They don't have any other choice. Don't be mean.
They will always be honest. They will have no malice.
They will always be honest. Who was this guy married to? Jesus Christ.
Some people listening to this are going to think it's super weird.
I'm sure.
What would you say to them?
In 20 years, it'll be normal.
There it is. There it is. Some people watching this are going to say that this is weird. What would you say to them? In 20 years, it'll be normal. God.
Everybody will have some form of robotic.
Everybody. Oh, yeah, see, he's like, everybody will have some form of robotic. Yeah, I don't know if everybody's going to have the kind that you insert your penis in. Like, they might have like a robot vacuum cleaner, for example, or a robot microwave. They've already been making these fridges for the last 10 years where the fridge can order its own groceries online. Have you seen that? That's kind of a robot. They have robot vacuum cleaners. I don't know if robot slut is going to take off in 20 years. Maybe. I pray that it doesn't. Although maybe it's good, actually. Maybe it's a good thing. Maybe we should get all of these guys who can only have sex with robots. Abood M8 just joined. First day on Periscope. Welcome to Periscope. Welcome to your Periscope experience. So maybe it's a good thing if we can corral all these guys who have a better chance with robots than they do with real women. That means there's going to be a lot more real women on the market, and they'll be extra thirsty for sex. Because before the sex robots, there was really no competition, right? There was no competition for women. Now there's some competition. Women, you're going to have to pluck those eyebrows harder. You're going to shave those legs more often. You're going to have to lose a couple of pounds. You're going to have to get out there and jog and pretty yourself up and get the most expensive lipstick and the most expensive foundation because you haven't been trying hard enough to get male attention. You haven't been doing enough to earn, the ogles and wolf whistles of men in our society. Now we've got the robots. They love my piggish behavior. They love it. I could literally say whatever I want to Harmony, and all she says is, let's go to the bedroom, over and over and over and over again. And when I travel, I could just put her in the boot. I don't even need to have her in the front seat.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you may be, or whatever you may be doing. You've joined the Common Discourse Weekly Roundup podcast. You're joined by me, Varun Prasad. You can find me on Twitter and on Gab at Paradigm Emerges. I'd also like to talk about our up-and-coming website, which, week in, week out, I keep talking about. But look, rest assured, it is coming along smoothly, and I think we'll be surprised. We'll be up and running sooner rather than later. Always remember that we are looking for your content. So if you are a writer, any kind of content producer, whether that be audio or videos, please let us know about it. Get in touch with us because we will love to host your stuff on the Common Discourse website once it's up and running. I'd also like to make a mention of the two lads that I sit in with on our flagship monthly podcast, monthly Common Discourse podcast, that would be at Boogie Bumper and at Ted Dabrowski. Give those guys a follow. You'll be much the wiser for it, and perhaps a little happier. It'll enrich your lives in subtle ways. Look, I know I call this show the Weekly Roundup, where I look at some political stories of the week that's gone by and, pick a few choice pickings to analyze, to dissect. But, it's not what I wanted to do today. Just wasn't in the mood for it. So I thought I'd do something different and wax a little philosophical on you guys, get some ideas and thoughts that I had mulling around in my head off my chest. And in particular, I wanted to speak about Western civilization, which to me it seems has come to bear, the fragility of its own existence, and the changes that we see today, they seem to be symptoms of some kind of transitional identity crisis, right? And so that got me thinking, what exactly does identity mean to a society? Is it pride? Is it traditions? Is it values? So, look, yes, it is those things. But more than that, I think it's about purpose. Because, without purpose, we float around in nihilism. And perhaps that is the natural condition of mankind. But if it is, did I say mankind? I don't know if that's a politically correct term these days. Humankind? Whatever it is. It got me thinking, what of meaning? I mean, if we float around in nihilism, what of meaning? And the deeper we go into that question of meaning, it'll always boil down to what of identity and what of us. Because identity lies at the heart of society, right? We can only find meaning in ourselves through our relationships with society. And it's this meaning that gives us purpose and a reason. But if nihilism is the natural condition, then where do we go searching for this purpose? I mean, do revelations present themselves, or do we create the revelations, that we seek? And I'm talking of purpose here because what relevance does meaning have without purpose? If we look at identity as solely meaning, or just meaning, we only see a half-finished painting because meaning itself is meaningless without purpose. We create purpose for ourselves, and this sort of defines who we are as people, and that's what empowers society. So purpose must therefore be rooted in truth if society is to be the truest and most powerful representation of itself. And the search for truth and precision in reasoning has given us many wonders, of Western civilization. But, at some point you've got to ask yourself, is it this absolutism, this absolutism in truth, could it have created the great undoing that we see before us today? Because while this works for the components of society, such as science, economics, commerce, can that sort of absolutism, can it be stretched to encompass the entirety of the whole? What is truth and what is fact? Perhaps the great discoveries of the Enlightenment have led to a confusion between objective facts and metaphysical truths. The truth of facts must differ from the truth of morals, because morals, they're not scientific facts. Morals are a dynamic concept that dance, delicately between subjectivity and objectivity. Science is objective truth of facts and an invaluable resource, of course. But without that sort of inward reflection, we kind of, we lack that grounding. We lack the grounding that so many seek, either, consciously or without even knowing it. Okay. Let me kind of explain that point, what I actually mean by, morals and scientific facts being sort of separate sort of domains of truth. Take, for example, the Kantian murder at the door scenario. So for those who may not be particularly familiar, Immanuel Kant was a German philosopher, and he spoke of universal moral maxims, almost like a scientific maxim. Pretty much saying, there's one moral way, and that it's a one-size-fits-all. It must apply to every situation across all people. So the Kantian murderer at the door scenario is a scenario. It's a thought experiment where let's say a murderer is knocking at your door and he wants to murder a person who's hiding in your house. Now, regardless of that person hiding in your house being innocent or not, Kant would say that it's our moral imperative to give that person up, because honesty is a moral universal maxim. But of course, many of us would actually lie in that situation to save the life of that person. And so that's the distinction I want to make. Honesty as a universal maxim is almost a scientific approach to morals, whereas we would perhaps choose a different path. We would choose a subjective path by looking at the situation. And that's what I mean, that it's a delicate dance between objectivity and subjectivity. The key difference to consider here, I'd say, is the difference between fact and axiom. Both are truths, but one is discovered and one is created. And this is where sort of, I think, Western society finds itself, lost in its quest for ultimate truth, somewhere between fact and meaning, and with no grounding to stand on. But grounding can only come through meditations on our moral fiber. Morals and values, they're the truth of our being, as they are the yardstick with which we measure intent, and our intent aligns with our purpose, which gives us a meaningful identity. And the values, therefore, are the seeds that propagate a meaningful society. It creates fertile ground for the growth of morality, and it's those pillars around which we structure our society. So like trees swaying in the wind, different morals may seem, may appear to be separate, but they grow from the same land. So moral grounding is in itself a categorical imperative. For example, rip the trees out of the land and they will die. So in the same way, uprooting and shifting morals equate to moral death. And that's what we see around us today. The old moralities seem to be shunned almost, and that those morals are dying, and that carcass, their carcass of that morality or that moral world is being ceremoniously sort of mutilated. Because essentially that is what we see, today by the self-proclaimed ethics police. The moral arbiters of today lack the consistency in their moral philosophy, and therefore lack the courage of their convictions. I mean, just think about it. Can we apply the same principles of sexism to men that we apply to women? Do we confer the same standards of anti-racism to whites that we do to non-white groups? Is it okay for us to insult other religions the way we insult Christianity? Do we forcefully demand cultural diversity from non-white countries in the same way we do with white countries? Do we censor hate speech from the far left the way that we do with our conservative speech? Is it okay to punch a communist the way it's encouraged, culturally encouraged to punch an alleged Nazi, not even a real Nazi? I mean, what is a real Nazi these days? But, to punch an alleged Nazi. So if you think this person's a Nazi, just punch him. Yeah, go for it. If our moral standards shift so frivolously, we fail to exercise any moral standards at all. It all burns. There are no morals, no ethics. There's only a narrative. And whoever controls the narrative holds the power, holds the gun. And this is something that I spoke about in our podcast last week, our monthly flagship podcast, because just think about it. How long will it be till you no longer fit that narrative? And just like that, the gun will now be pointed at your head. And you'll be completely caught off guard, because you'll be asking yourself, why is this happening? Why is this happening to me? I did everything right. But that will be the trick, you see, because there's no right now. What is right today will be wrong tomorrow. So when morals have no grounding, it's contingent on the casual dissemination of a gender-driven narrative. Friend and foe are nothing anymore. Friend and foe are simply shades of color that shift upon the same face. And this is the plight of our postmodern world. It's a thesis that's sort of dislodged from its cultural roots. If faith in society is something for, if faith in itself, is the soul of society, then I'd say the West has had its soul ripped out, and what's left is a dried, withered corpse weathering away with with the winds of time. Yeah, self critique, and examination, they're important tools for growth. There's no doubt about it. But over time, I'd say the purifying fires of self-reflection have become a raging destructive force. And, bereft of its pride and faith, Western civilization has been robbed of its substance. The West has been taught to forget its roots. It's a cultural civilization in ashes, and subsequently, it's lost its own sort of sense of empowerment. You can catch a handful of the blowing debris, but it only serves almost as a relic of a forgotten past. Because as the West tries to reframe its moral center through revisionism in all sort of segments of the culture, in art, in politics, in music, in everything, there's a sort of subconscious longing for the empowerment and self-belief that once characterized the West. But without the vision of what it once was, society sort of pieces together a more fragmented world in a desperate attempt to reclaim power and belief in itself. But broken pieces of the past, you can't rearrange them in haste to create a new form. The West may remember what empowerment felt like, but searching for meaning by constructing a shallow thesis supported only by a flimsy, free-floating narrative, it will only lead to failure. And the cost of failure as a society or as a culture, it's fatal. Wisdom is knowing that culture creates meaning and purpose for itself. It's a multi-layered dimension that spans eons in formation, and it revolves around the delicate subtleties of its moral underpinnings. The good, the bad, all of this gives society experience, gives society strength. But you got to ask yourself, strength for what? It's coming back to that purpose question again. Is there an end point? And if there is, then what is the new beginning point? What is the new sort of the neon genesis? The wisdom of the ages may not have offered scientific truths, but they codified truths into parables that created a platform upon which civilization was built, right? But if a new beginning means that the death, leads to the death of the moral archetype or the Judeo-Christian sort of values, then who are we now without that sort of same moral compass? What is the intent? Who tells us what our intent is? Over the centuries, members of Western civilization rose through Maslow's pyramid of hierarchy, right? Or Maslow's hierarchy pyramid. So, for those of you who may not be too familiar with it, let me just explain it very briefly. This pyramid is a model that sort of explains the needs bases of a human and how they fit into society. So, for example, the very base, the first level of this pyramid is physiological needs. So, a person to function in society properly needs clean breathing air, food, water, shelter, clothing, sleep. Once that's secured, we jump to the next level of needs, which is health, employment, property, family, social stability. And from that, we jump to the next level, which is friendship, family, intimacy, sense of connection. And from there to the next level, which is confidence, achievement, respect of others, the need to be a unique individual. And then you get to the last, very sort of capstone, self-actualization, where it's a reimagining of morality, of creativity, spontaneity, acceptance, experience, purpose, meaning, and inner potential. Okay? So, over the centuries, I'd say, Western society rose through this pyramid, and it was this journey that helped shape their moral identity. But in the last decade, I would say members of society seem to have crossed over from that second last stage of self-esteem to the self-actualization stage, where they are reimagining morality, acceptance, creativity. This stage is known as self-actualization. It seems to me that, this sort of society as a collective unit seems to have reached this self-actualization stage. It's almost like a capstone to the history of Western society so far. Look, there's no research done on that part. This is just me, sort of putting my thoughts out there. But if this is the case, then I'd say that society has reached this stage only to throw everything away and build something new. Now, the moral journey sort of sought to balance our liberty and our freedom with the disposition of our savage selves, right? Born into the sin of our primal urges and working towards redemption, working towards emancipation from the brutal world of nature. But whereas, the moral journey sought liberty, self-actualization seeks liberation. Look, I mean, I'm not a religious person, but as an outside observer, I am a great admirer for what it has given us. It's stumbled and fumbled its way over the line, but we are all sort of more enriched because of it, regardless of our feelings towards these values. But this new ideology, it sort of cunningly confuses liberty with oppression and encourages liberation from the very culture that sort of maximized freedom for all. Liberation, it threatens to destroy it all. And the genius of the cunning is to play at the natural desire for freedom. It's the hypnotic Pied Piper that leads the discombobulated away from the grand narrative towards this utopia of the postmodern world, a world detached from the so-called oppression of accountability, responsibility, and self-sustainability. But really, in reality, the postmodern utopia is a return to state control. People suckling at the government's teat, their sense of self slayed through moral revisionism. It's communism 2.0. And you have to take notice of this fact. If people say the religious morals of Western society are a blight upon its existence, then you've got to consider for a moment the template used by the postmodern relativist. Because let's take a look at this. People in the West are born into sin because of the actions of their ancestors that oppressed the vulnerable through colonial and imperial rule. If their culture is attacked, then they must learn to turn the other cheek and perhaps even to make the ultimate sacrifice of culture. The motives of the agenda cannot be brought into question. All dissenters must be silenced and outcast. Strike with vengeance any who are not within the flock. The end goal is a heavenly utopia of diversity and liberation from the natural-born sin of birth in the West. Now, remove the specifics and just observe that underlying mechanism. It follows that same pattern, almost as if the archetypal story will be canonized in one form or another, as some kind of intrinsic feature of the human experience. But ask yourself this: is cultural suicide atonement for historical sin? Is it really redemption? And this is what I meant when I spoke of hastily rearranging pieces of, the broken past. Self-critique and cultural deconstruction is a tool for growth. But if undesirable elements are removed from history in a revisionist fervor, then what fills those gaps? What fills the voids? It's that same mechanism. It comes to play. The template remains the same, but the wisdom of the ages is lost. We fool ourselves into believing that we have created a new moral thesis. In effect, we hastily create a fragmented world for ourselves without the wisdom of history to guide us. We don't create. Really, we just destroy. Peace, compassion, inclusivity, harmony and diversity, these are all great ideals to strive towards, of course. No one would argue with that. But history dictates that, justice and peace ceases to be peace if governments enforce it upon its own people. Because equality is an inherent feature of life and reality. It's there in the world of animals, and it's there in society. We can work together to curb the negative excesses of that inherent inequality that exists in society. But we cannot force equality on everyone, because it will lead to disastrous consequences. The strife for absolute peace and justice will lead to absolute destruction. The horrors of totalitarian regimes began with noble intentions. But the battle for ideas creates identity divisions within the national consciousness that needn't be there. The identities, then they create their own set of competing ideologies. And within that sort of crucible of absolutism, the ideologies take on a life of their own, The crevices grow deeper and society begins to crack. In today's social media-driven world, the culture wars have proliferated, leading to ever-widening, identity in-group echo chambers. The addiction to that like notification, it's now deciding our view of political realities rather than objectivism. Yeah? If indeed cultures revolve around their own sets of values and morals, then we are in a state where what was once considered subcultures of a nation are now they're redefining their own sets of morals and values as a breakaway culture. They define their existence through the construct of the opposition as lacking in moral fiber. We are who we are, but most importantly, we are not that. We are morally justified in our superiority. Go ahead and punch a Nazi. Remember, people's shared values and moral convictions are seeds to create their own society and cultural habitat. And these closed identity groups are also symptoms of the obsession with absolutism. There can only be one way, and everybody knows in their heart of hearts that theirs is that one and only way. The academic intelligentsia creates systems of thinking that must be closed off for the sake of purity. There is no negotiation with other opposing ideas anymore. It's the reason that they seek common ground with socialism and communism. They're all closed sets of ideas. The purity of the theory becomes more important than the real world outcomes of implementing such social engineering. Yeah? And once it's all imbued with a moral imperative, the attractiveness to that noble but inexperienced mind becomes a romantic endeavor. The identity grows and it consolidates at the expense of that society that allowed such self-critique in the first place. And that's the irony of it all. That's what I'm saying. What is purpose? Does purpose change over time? We had one goal to create the freest, most egalitarian society that we can. But as soon as we reach that stage, everything's beginning to change. And where are we headed? Because the West now stares into the unknown, haunted by echoes of disjointed memories. And if truth is to be attained, it can only come through a recognition of what was and what is. It can only be attained by the utterances of ideas, but it is free speech and freedom of expression that seems to be under attack. If the West is to resort back to a new moral journey, throwing away everything that they created in the past, then the coming generations will witness some difficult times. The same difficulties that their great ancestors fought through to offer them the comforts of liberty and peace. The West has to ask itself what it truly wants, because the choice is pretty clear. Will it be liberty or will it be liberation? Liberty is different. We all have our freedoms. We exercise our liberty. We exercise our freedoms within society. Liberation from what? Liberation from what we have built in the past, like a snake shedding skin. Do we really want to do that? Anyway, look, that was my thoughts for the day. I don't want to bore you guys too much. I just thought I'd get it out there, talk about it a little bit. But that's pretty much brought me to the end of the show today. Look, next week I promise I won't get too philosophical. I will actually get into some sort of political analysis and look at some of the interesting events that occur during the week. And look, till then, I hope you guys have a wonderful time. Keep your loved ones close to you, because what is life without them? And see you next week, guys? Take it easy. Bye-bye.